I don't know why everyone doesn't do this. Maybe they have something against living forever.
Hi everyone, welcome to Priority Holder, and today we'll be playing Red-White Life Gain Prison in the Timeless format. Now, Life Gain component comes from the inclusions Griffin Aerie and Book of Exalted Deeds, each of which care about whether you've gained 3 life in your turn and will make like a flying token for you. Now, the prison component can come from the fact that Book of Exalted Deeds, you can crack it and place basically like a platinum angel counter on an angel you control. And so we're also playing Mutavaults to set up a pretty hard lock that if we place the platinum angel counter on Mutavault and no longer activate it afterwards, it's pretty safe against most decks. The other prison component we have, of course, is Chalice of the Void with our curve that we've set up. And so the deck is set up to gain life in increments of 3. So an obvious inclusion is Phlage, which Lightning Helix is on ETB and attack. We have the classic Lightning Helix itself. We're also running Revitalize, and of course Solitude's combat damage can trigger it. And so we're able to just wall off the creature decks with like endless tokens and just have like tons of difficult threats to deal with. One ring for card advantage, Fury for some defensive measures. So let's get some gains in prison. This is a pretty sweet hand. I mean, you'd like to keep a Chalice hand in the dark. We'll see how good it is. Definitely with the Surveil land, and already have an interesting choice. So Phlage is a nice one to surveil sometimes because it's useful in the graveyard, but that's also a pitch card for Fury, and we don't mind casting Phlage, so I decided to keep it on top, but I could see an argument for surveilling it right there. Alright, land from the opponent, looks like a Dark Slick Shores. Going to slam a Chalice for 1 and hope they don't Spell Pierce. It does resolve, so we'll see how much work it does for us. If this is like a show and tell deck, it may not be as good as we would like it. Now here's the question, do we just run out a Phlage just to sort of Lightning Helix them? I opt to pass, if they're like a creature-based deck, we'll want the Phlages. So let's see what the opponent does. Okay, so they play an Orcish Bowmasters. So that makes it honestly feel a little bit better. I've run a lot of different prison decks, and this one is not as equipped to battle the non-creature like combo decks because it doesn't have Blood Moon, so it's way better against like creature-based mid-range. So honestly felt pretty happy seeing a Bowmasters, though it is like a little annoying since we have like 1 rings in our hand. We will need to deal with it. So gonna crack the fetch, get our last remaining Surveil land. Definitely keep that land. We have 4 drops in hand, and so the opponent could be camped out on like mana drain right here. So I'm going to first attempt to Fury down Bowmasters and its token. And I'm just trying to see, like, I'd rather them like mana drain this than like the 1 ring. So this actually does resolve. And let's see what's going to happen. Alright, so opponent just lets it happen. Now one thing, when you Fury a Bowmasters plus the Orc army, like you might want to put some extra damage points on the Orc army in case they like flash another Bowmasters to buff it and save it, so like you just have to be conscious of that. Now here's the question, do we attempt to slam a 1 ring here into a possible mana drain or possible Bowmasters? Decide just to be patient. I'm just gonna hit them with Phlage first. Now the opponent hasn't played a lot. It's hopefully because we're locking stuff out with Chalice. Like maybe they have Brainstorms and Thoughtseizes that are locked up right now. So, alright, Psychic Frog, and the opponent still passes with that 2 blue mana. So we do have Invasion of Gobakhan to like attempt to see what's going on. So it's tough because we definitely don't want Psychic Frog to hit us and then just start picking up tons of cards. So I'm really conflicted here as to like, okay, do we do the mana efficient play and just try and drop a 1 ring like super high upside but just feeds right into a mana drain, which there's the mana drain. So I could see an argument for just hitting with Invasion of Gobakhan right there, but once again then Psychic Frog starts going wild. Okay, so happy to see they couldn't profitably use the mana drain mana. Now this is like a Psychic Frog deck that does not have a Lurrus companion, so it might mean that there's like Abhorrent Oculus or something like that in there. So we'll have to see. So there's a Mutavault And once you have to always be checking the amount of cards in your graveyard, just for Phlage escapes. Alright, this is really tough. So there's a Snapcaster, which is going to flashback Mana Drain and eat up our second One Ring. So things are rapidly getting worse for us now that we have a Psychic Frog and a Snapcaster Mage to deal with. We just have an Invasion of Gobakhan in our hand, which is honestly more of a tempo card than anything. Alright, yeah, so the opponent's locked out a Fatal Push, so they pitch that. And see, alright, another Fatal Push. Let's see if they keep going. Alright, and there's a Consider. So we've bricked a ton of cards in their hand, fortunately, but unfortunately we're getting slapped around by Psychic Frog, which has already grown past our Fury damage. So it's like Solitude or Bust right now. And now there's another Psychic Frog. So checking out the cards in the graveyard, and this is where things can get tricky. Like sometimes you look and you're like, oh, I got 5 cards, but you have to remember that Phlage is one of the cards, and so in order to escape Phlage right here, we have to crack the fetch. Going to get an untapped source because we want to hit them with Invasion of Gobakhan before we escape the Phlage, just to make sure we're in the clear. So Invasion of Gobakhan hits, and bracing our for impact, and they just have 2 lands, so we don't get to tax anything, but that means Phlage is all clear. So I'm gonna escape Phlage. Now here's the, we would love to kill the small Psychic Frog. The problem is they have 2 lands to pitch to raise its toughness to 4, which would allow it to survive the hit. So we definitely need the life gain. We want to get rid of their threats, so we'll take down Snapcaster. Now the opponent is incentivized to keep the cards in hand because that opens up a Psychic Frog attack through Phlage because they have enough to pitch. So they don't want to like pitch them into the smaller frog if they didn't have to. So the opponent has 2 unknown cards now. And then we draw another Chalice. And so even though we have a ton of 2-mana spells, I decide just to go for like the full lock right here. Maybe not full, but nearly full in like how they built their deck, with the Chalice for 2. So bracing for like this is big time right here. Okay, so Chalice for 2 sticks. So now here's the question: do we attack? Do we not attack? And I'm realizing, okay, so if we attack, we helix them, they go down to 11, and they have to decide whether to chump Phlage. They don't have it, even if they pitched every card into the smaller frog, Phlage would still kill it, and we'd still have Mutavault back as like a possible blocker. I don't think we care about flipping the battle here. It's all about getting them dead, and that will allow the Psychic Frogs to, just to go right at us. But we've hopefully bricked almost every draw with our 2 Chalices right here. So going to go ahead and proceed with that plan. And as the opponent decides just to eat 6 damage from Phlage, I'll go ahead and link another blue-black deck that I've played that's not very similar to this, but it's a very sort of unique concept. So now we're bracing for impact, and so is the opponent going to send in with both frogs? Do they still have like Oculus or something they can play through the Chalices? So they send in with 1 frog, and so here's the question: do you chump block with Mutavault or not? I thought about it for some time and realized, we don't want them to draw more cards and possibly find like a Sink into Stupor or something, but right now, barring, if they can't play any creatures through our Chalices, we have the win right here, because we can activate Mutavault and attack with both Mutavault and Phlage, and just hit them in the face with Phlage, which puts them to 2, and yeah, we lock up the win right there. So that was an insane game. Like, once there was so many Psychic Frogs out, I just felt like I was losing that game. But by some miracle, we got 2 Chalices out, and Phlage took us home. So that felt awesome. All right, so we're already in the next game, playing against a Luris deck, leading on Ragavan. Fortunately for us, we've gone first. If we were going second, I might even Fury. Like, say it's our turn 1 facing a Ragavan. I might even Fury down the Ragavan. It's just that good with its acceleration and pulling cards and stuff. Now, hopefully, our cards are not very useful to them. What I'm actually going to do here is Chalice for 1, because it's a Lurrus deck, so it's presumably nuking about half their spells, usually more than that, because they're very lean builds. And I'm going to just hold out for some more Fury value. That does mean eating a Ragavan hit. And they actually also played Mary, Esquire Rohan, which, when it attacks alongside another legendary, draws a card. So, not a card you'd see that often, but obviously works super good right here. So, alright, so the opponent cracks a Mishra's Bauble. So, it seems, you know, now that there's like 2 pretty juicy targets, like we're going to definitely Fury. And I think a long time about this, I'm like, alright, I end up pitching Phlage into it, and in retrospect, I don't think that's a good idea. My rationale is like, alright, we've already seen like 2 haste creatures from them, like Lightning Helix can protect us from like something else, but we're already so safe under Chalice that I think keeping the stronger sorcery speed long-term one was better. So now our Phlage is in exile and I have to deal with that. Alright, so the opponent plays Inti, and it becomes pretty clear that the opponent is playing a red-white Legends deck, especially with Flowering of the White Tree. So we're going to be able to Lightning Helix down the Inti in response, because the legendary creatures pick up Ward 1 in addition to sort of the Anthem bonus. And so already love what the opponent has cooked up right here. This is pretty awesome, like a red-white Legends aggro deck. Now, Witch Enchanter is our top card. Not usually super good, but like right now it's just a body and it's going to blow up their Flowering of the White Tree, which is sort of important if we hope to Fury stuff later on, because, you know, that many instances of Ward 1 really adds up. So we're just going to pop their Anthem and leave a 2/2 behind. We do need some action though, because we just have a Revitalize. Okay, opponent's just going to put Lurrus into hand and pass. Alright, another land. And we've already pulled all of our Surveil lands, so going to Revitalize, and we have another land. So, yeah, right now we're hoping for like a 1-ring to kick things off. Like, I've already seen so much haste from them that I'm not attacking. Maybe it's too cowardly, I don't know. Alright, so the opponent plays another Flowering of the White Tree. See if they have another legend to drop. And they go and pass to us. I guess they're expecting another Lightning Helix from us. They're wanting to like save Lurrus till they have 5 mana. But it seems like they should have just gone Lurrus Bauble or something right there. But as we draw this 1-ring, if you enjoy seeing Chalice Malice, please stun sniper the like button. This is exactly what the doctor ordered, so now that we have 1-ring, we can hopefully just start chaining some, you know, card advantage. Okay, so there's Book of Exalted Deeds. That'll be really good just for like a supply of angels for blocking their stuff. Okay, so the opponent did find the 5th land, so here comes Lurrus. And they're going to be able to bring back either Inti or Mary. Okay, so they opt for Inti, which is a good play for them because it's going to allow them to pitch their 1-drops into Inti and just get some value out of them. Which hopefully we're blocking some. There's only so many like 1-drop legends, you know, so like they may be more of a 2-drop Lurrus deck than most. Okay, so we have Solitude and multiple Revitalizes. Remember, we have to pay Ward 1 on every legend we target, so it seems pretty clear like we have to get rid of Lurrus. And so drawing that Solitude is extremely clutch because we're able to take down Lurrus and just stop that value train right there. Alright, so the opponent's going to send in with Inti, and yeah, we see them pitch a 1-mana Frodo into it. And they have a Mox Amber. So with 1-mana spells knocked out, like there is a chance for a blowout for this block, but very happily we'll trade all our creatures with it and gain the life. Opponent has a Mox Amber and a Kellen Daring Traveler. So it seems like we're stifling like the amount of aggro they've done, and we've already taken care of their Lurrus, so we're feeling pretty good about that. Now we're getting somewhere. So not only do we have the Book of Exalted Deeds, we have the Mutavault, so we could potentially try and set up the hard lock, which presumably they're not going to have ways to deal with lands if we can safely crack the book onto a Mutavault. So, and going to just pass at this point. And we've successfully gained life, so there's our first angel from Book of Exalted Deeds. Now, I've actually tried my own sort of legend-themed deck. It was like a red-black deck. I'll go ahead and link it right here. And the opponent slams a Mary. Now, I'm going to pitch cast Solitude before the attacks. The question is what to pitch. I decided to pitch Witch Enchanter, even though it does have targets. I'm planning on popping Book of Exalted Deeds. We might want another one. So what I'm going to do here is Solitude down the Kellen because it has 4 toughness. And that will remove one of the legends, or remove a legend so that when Mary attacks it won't draw a card. Not only that, but Mary will trade with our angel if they choose to attack. Okay, yeah, so they pass to us, so... Now, the nice thing about this deck is that there's so much life gain packed in, like we never really get in the danger zone with the One Ring. Like we have Revitalizes, Lightning Helixes, Phlages, and Solitudes with combat damage, so like we're able to survive our rings like way better than some of the other prison decks I've tried before. So decided to go for the hard lock right here by animating Mutavault and cracking Book of Exalted Deeds. So this is like the removal check right here. So far it looks alright. And just going to Revitalize here just to keep the angels flowing, which does work. And then we draw Invasion of Gobakhan, and so we could slam like a Griffin Aerie to try and make use of our life gain. Decide just to pass the turn. I don't know why I didn't slam Invasion of Gobakhan there. I don't know, maybe it's because they had so much mana. Either way, it's looking pretty bad for the opponent, so just playing it nice and cautious here, but with all that we have, it looks like we're pretty safe. Okay, so we drew a land, so we actually have enough lands now to Witch Enchanter down the Flowering of the White Tree and hard cast a Fury. And yeah, the opponent's seen enough, so it was going to end very shortly after that, and that was a nice little battle of the mid-range decks. Alright, green-white land from the opponent. Gonna lead with our Surveil, and green-white typically indicates like some sort of creature-based strategy, so it seems like the One Ring will be like pretty strong there. Alright, so opponent plays Join the Dance. We'll have to see what's up. I'm not used to seeing that one in Timeless, but people probably aren't used to seeing Griffin Aerie either, so lots of unique ones showing up in this video so far. Alright, I'm going to crack Marsh Flats and shock that. I'm going to go ahead and play Griffin Aerie. Obviously would rather be playing like a Chalice here, but we're sitting pretty with both Fury and Solitude, so like not really scared about what might happen, and was hoping for them to play more creatures so we could eat them with Fury. So there's the wedding announcement. It comes pretty clear that the opponent's some sort of tokens deck. Now, I don't know why they only attack with one creature there, like maybe they're respecting Ragavan from us with like multiple blockers. So either way, this seems pretty opportune time to Fury stuff down. This time I am going to keep Phlage, and I think given the choice between Phlage and Lightning Helix, I think most of the time you want to keep the Phlage just because it's just that good. It takes over games, and we fill up our graveyard pretty quickly with fetch lands and like pitch elementals and stuff. So now we do have a Griffin Aerie in play, so I am going to just Phlage their face to get our token into play, because the opponent's awfully like obviously like some sort of like, you know, creature based deck, and so the more, you know, things we can have like blockers to like impede them, the more useful it'll be. Alright, so Intangible Virtue from the opponent. Let's see if they have. Alright, so they miss a land, and then Wedding Announcement creates a new creature. So now that we see Intangible Virtue, it's pretty clear we're playing a tokens deck. Now, would love to like blow up one of their enchantments, but we don't have the 4th land, and so I'm just going to use the Witch Enchanter to cast a 1 ring instead. Now, I try out a ton of different strategies, so it probably doesn't surprise you that I've tried out like token decks and stuff like that, and I've found like Intangible Virtue is not exactly what you want to play these kind of decks. Like, it just doesn't enough. You usually want stuff that like makes creatures or buffs them or does both potentially. Like, I like Wedding Announcement way more than Intangible Virtue, and I could see the upsides, but you know, when you get all your creatures destroyed, Intangible Virtue feels pretty tough. So alright, so the opponent has an Imara on the other side, which that has to be dealt with because every attack it makes, it's going to create another token. And the thing is about the opponent's anthems is that our Furies are looking like way less good. Now a Fury can only kill 1 of their creatures instead of all of them. And so, and that's like our primary way of dealing with go wide decks. And so it's, you know, however, in this build, you know, we can make a lot of tokens, and so we have that going for us. So the question is, do we want another copy of Griffin Aerie? And I made the Phlage mistake right there. I saw 5 cards in the graveyard and didn't realize that I probably should have just auto-surveilled it because I was hoping to escape Phlage. And so, seeing that it wasn't like a Fury on top or something, I should have just surveilled away the Griffin Aerie to be able to escape that other one. Then we could have really started closing the game. So, alright, we get another Griffin for our troubles, though. And just playing it real safe, not attacking in, because, you know, hoping to double block things down with our pair of 2/2s. Alright, battle for Retagard. That's going to make a few more tokens. 1 ring's going to ding us. Here's the Griffin Aerie that I kept, that I should have surveilled last time to escape Phlage. But we did draw some other easy means to fill our graveyard, so we're going to play the Arid Mesa. And trying to think about how to handle this. I'm going to just pull out a basic mountain and slam a 2nd copy of Griffin Aerie. And so I guess this is the upside of keeping it, is now that when we Phlage, we're going to be like making double Griffins now. So we're going to... So the thing is about the final chapter for the Battle of Retagard they have is it allows you to duplicate unique named tokens that you have, and so that's why I specifically targeted that one. So the way it works is like it makes like a soldier that makes like an elf, and then you can duplicate all your unique ones. And so if we keep killing their unique ones, they're gonna get a lot less value out of the copying at the end. So feeling pretty good with like our army of Griffins and also Phlage. And once again, we can just power through like really high amounts of ring counters because of all the life gain we pack. Invasion of Gobakhan is just really nice here. It's just going to give us some information to know what we're dealing with. Because I was maybe going to attack all, but the opponent actually has swords for Phlage, and so Phlage is going to bite the dust. So I'm very glad that I just waited to try and look at their hand first. And so we're going to get to tax something into oblivion right here. And the opponent has priority. They're thinking about it. And I'm shocked to see March of the Multitudes still in their hand. Like, if I were them, I think I would have just convoked it out and, like, you know, just grabbed the 3 tokens and just made me tax the other spell. So, I think that's a misplay from them, because I feel like flooding that many tokens on the board, you know, like I said, Fury is not really great on this board right here. So I think if I were the opponent, I would have focused, you know, I would have let me take the Pledge of Unity. So I mean, they are going to gain some life, and we're going to be able to just kill 1 of their tokens. And maybe they were so worried about how many Griffins we already had amassed, because without that life gain, we're almost just like 2 attacks away from like taking them down. So it's a tough spot. Like, the opponent's just in an unenviable position. So going to flip Invasion of Gobakhan for good measure, because that's going, you know, because we're gonna have a couple Griffins to block with, and it's going to not only power up our other Griffins, but give us like a protection spell. Now, part of the reason I've been so cautious this whole game, like leaving so many blockers back, is because the opponent could be running some kind of overrun or like Craterhoof effect. And which would just be like, you know, instant game over, like from a game that we were like really ahead on. So now we know that like we could just send the Griffins in and it should be pretty safe. So fun little battle against green-white tokens, and we're on to the next game already. Alright, friendly opponent on the other side, cracking their land, and gonna drop a Utopia Sprawl. Naming blue. So alarm bells went off as soon as I saw the Forest plus Utopia Sprawl. I'll go ahead and link Ponza deck right here, because that's like a classic opening for like, you know, red-green Ponza. And so I led with this Marsh Flats in case I needed to fetch a basic plains. But seeing how they're naming blue, and anyway, so I decided it's probably safe to grab the Surveil land. And then there's Book of Exalted Deeds, which is eventually going to be pretty good. The problem is we actually have one of our, I think our only mountain in hand, which is like one of the few lands that can't cast Book of Exalted Deeds. So I could see, especially with Phlage in hand, I could see an argument to surveilling away the book right there. So I think that might have been a mistake. Alright, so the opponent's going to Utopia Sprawl their existing forest, floating a blue, and play Overlord of the Flood Pits. So the opponent's ramping like crazy over there, and now they have some card selection. So they just use the like, I think it's called Impending. So, and you can already see it in their graveyard. There's Enigmatic Incarnation. I always struggle with that first word. So that works particularly well with the Overlords, because they're high mana value permanents you could put into play for cheap and then sacrifice them for huge value. So it feels like we're miles behind at this point. And going to grab a Surveil land right there, I already knew I wasn't going to just Phlage their face, because seeing how they have like, you know, they could just play a 3 toughness Overlord of the Flood Pits, and we'd love to like Lightning Helix it on their turn. So that was my rationale there. But the opponent has unfortunately found an Incarnation, and is going to be able to start going off here. Alright, so we'll see what kind of horrible thing awaits us. Alright, so they've upgraded into Overlord of the Boiler Bilges, which is like sort of like Inferno Titan, except it deals like damage in chunks of 4. So definitely going to Solitude things down and pitch Book. I was going to pitch Book of Exalted Deeds, but then like, you know, maybe we need that to try and grind them out with like blockers. So going to just Solitude away the Overlord and just hope to like slow down their value train right there. And once again, it feels like we're like way behind. A Chalice on 1 at any point would have been pretty nice, because we might have been able to stop one of their Utopia Sprawls. I guess they went first, so I guess there wasn't really any stopping that. So we draw a 3rd white source. So I'm going to slam Book of Exalted Deeds and hope to just and we see they're running Brainstorms also, so Chalice for 1 would have been exceptional in this matchup. So bracing for impact here. The opponent has tons of mana, and they have another Incarnation. Alright, and we gotta see what's... So they're gonna have to feed one into the other in order to make it work, because it can't sacrifice itself. Alright, so they go ahead and grab Overlord of the Flood Pits. And this honestly would have been a good turn to hold up Lightning Helix in response to the other one, because they're able to just run through the chain again and get another Overlord of the Boiler Bilges, which is real tough because... you know, even if we, like, let's say we play Phlage, ding their face, make an Angel, when the Overlord attacks, it can just nuke the Angel. So I'm going to get the One Ring here because we desperately need a Solitude. And I'm thinking to myself, like, alright, so they have this Overlord out. Do they have another one up the chain that they can grab? Which would be even worse for us, potentially. So I'm not 100%, but I think Overlord of the... Mistmoors, is that the right one, the white one? Costs 7 mana, so that's sort of what I was expecting, and it would be honestly pretty bad for us. Alright, so opponent has a Planar Genesis looking for, so they have a ton of selection in their deck. And so I'm bracing for impact. I'm like, I really hope they probably do have something up the chain from the red Overlord. And then the opponent has a Leyline Binding, which is going to gobble up our One Ring, which is pretty tough because we needed to find a Solitude pretty badly. Alright, Commune with Spirits. Chalice on one would have been incredible this game, but that's how it works sometimes. Alright, so we have Rain Protection, so the opponent's just going to pass. And like I said, I was expecting like the white Overlord, and the opponent pulls out Atraxa, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that was really bad for us. But and awesome deck building from the opponent, because like just sticking like with all the incarnations, just sticking one Atraxa in there to upgrade like the red Overlords into is just like a really awesome value play. So I love the ingenuity for that right there. Now we're pretty dead right here. I'm going to Invasion of Gobakhan, but we don't even get that moral victory here because the opponent has Brainstorm to tuck all their best stuff away. And we see double Memory Lapse. So I'm not even going to grab a Memory Lapse. It's sort of futile. I'm going to attempt to Phlage right here and create an Angel. But yeah, the opponent, that's just a clear Memory Lapse right there. Decide just to keep it on top. Like we could shuffle it away and try and draw into a Solitude, but the opponent is they're just going to slap us with the Atraxa, drop Overlord, and then despite us taxing their Lightning Bolt, we are just dead here. So that was a tough one, but awesome opponent, and we are on to the next game. So this hand has, I mean, any hand with Solitude and Fury like helps you be pretty covered. You know, like the opponent goes turn 1, reanimate Atraxa, then you Solitude it down. If they play, you know, multiple small things, then you Fury it down. So I really love the pairing of those two. All right, so going to grab a Surveil land right here. Playing against Deathrite Shaman. Another Solitude. Seems like we want to dig for like a One Ring or something like that. So this is pretty clear right here, like just to Lightning Helix the Deathrite Shaman and stifle their mana development. It does get rid of our lone pitch card for Fury, but we still have Solitude up, so we're feeling pretty safe. Alright, so there's a reanimate. Gonna grab our Solitude. Happy we didn't use Fury, because Fury is a lot scarier. So now we can pitch cast Fury to take down Solitude, or pitch cast Solitude to take down Solitude. But honestly, it just seems like we can be patient. Like Solitude is not nearly as fast of a clock as Fury is. And sure, they're going to gain some life. Okay, so the opponent misses a land drop. So we're just going to be patient here. And we're going to Vitalize into another Revitalize. Maybe should have Surveilled before Revitalizing. Not entirely sure right there, but hesitant to like pitch stuff. Knowing the opponent runs Reanimate, like it seems like, well, Chalice, that's an amazing draw right there, because we can lock out at least Reanimates, you know, and it's going to lock out Reanimates and Deathrite Shamans from them. And the opponent is obviously like mana screwed over there. They must have kept a very ambitious hand, or a hand that was heavily reliant on Deathrite Shaman. So going to slam Chalice and just be patient here. And that allows us to be, you know, if we have to like pitch caster elementals, that makes them safe from Reanimate. Now just going to hopefully just keep hitting land drops right here. So going to get a Plains and hope to Revitalize into an untapped source. There's another Chalice. And the opponent pitches a Fatal Push, yeah. So they might have just had like a super reactive hand, but we haven't played any threats, you know, and we took care of the Deathrite Shaman. So we did draw a land, and just want to make sure our colors are taken care of. We're already pretty safe, so we're going to just grab the Plains and play a Fury, because that's going to close the game pretty quickly versus a Solitude. Yeah, the opponent packs it in. So they got mana screwed, but it was due in large from us taking out their Deathrite Shaman. So the opponent that we're facing now mulligans and plays a blue-black land. Now, like I mentioned before, like the way I built this deck, this prison deck, it's just simply not as good against combo decks. So I'm really hoping it's not like show and tell that we're facing right here. So bracing for impact, because Chalice can slow down Show and Tell, but you really need like Blood Moon or High Noon to like get those kind of combo decks. So gonna drop a turn to Griffin Aerie. Alright, so the opponent's gonna Swamp Cycle Troll of Khazad-dûm and get an Undercity Sewers. So it's pretty clear we're playing against like some sort of blue-black mid-range deck and not Show and Tell. So it makes me feel, once again, feel a lot better because those are the kind of decks this deck's better suited against. They drop a Psychic Frog. So, but yeah, as we gear up to battle yet another Psychic Frog deck, let me know in the comments, what are your favorite decks to play against? Which ones lead to like enjoyable matchups and stuff like that? So what I'm going to do here is attempt to Phlage down the Psychic Frog. Alright, so the opponent pitches a Strix Serenade, I believe. And I'm wanting to empty their hand here, so I'm happy to just throw some Phlage damage away at the cost of them using cards. So like them pitching Mockingbird, I'm super happy that they pitched Mockingbird instead of making another Psychic Frog. So anyway, I don't know what their other card in hand is, but that's like an excellent from our perspective, and who knows what else they have. So checking, they definitely have counter spells in their deck. So the question is, do we just slam a One Ring here and just make them have it? We've already made them discard a bunch of cards. So alright, by some miracle it resolved. I feel like they always have the mana drain. So anyway, we are rolling. So we've fogged Psychic Frog for one turn at the very least. Alright, so they have another Troll. And they're going to play their land. So they have a pretty beefy Psychic Frog. And we draw a Chalice of the Void. So I'm once again checking their graveyard to see what they're running. They have a lot of 1-mana counters. And so it seems like Chalice for 1 is the way to go here. So going to attempt to Chalice. Alright, so the opponent has like an exile card in response. So that's going to nuke our Phlage and a land from the graveyard. But we do resolve the Chalice. So what I'm hoping to hear... Okay, so we did find a 2-mana life gain spell, which is allow us to make another Griffin. And find a land, importantly. So what I'm going to do is just endlessly chump the Psychic Frogs just to deny them the card advantage. And this is the power of Griffin Aerie and Book of Exalted Deeds. Like if you can get it through the counter spells, like most mid-range decks are not equipped to grind through all those tokens. So not to mention we also have the Mutavault for the potential hard lock with Book later on. So I'm gonna draw off the One Ring and just fear this for Bowmasters right now. If they play Bowmasters, then we're just gonna like Fury it down. So like we are not scared of that. And we're locking out at least some portion of their stuff with Chalice. So we're sitting pretty at the moment. And going to play Book of Exalted Deeds just to once again try and set up the hard lock, right? So the opponent lets that through. And going to just Phlage their face right here. Alright, so send the Phlage damage upstairs. And that's going to create 2 creatures for us to block with here. And so it's pretty, it's pretty tough for the opponent to come back from this at this point. Like we have a million cards in hand that blocked out some of their stuff. Psychic Frog you can never count out because it's just that strong. But it feels good to beat up the Psychic Frog decks every once in a while because they're very good against, and they pitch a Sire of 7 Deaths, so the opponent had some very ambitious reanimation plans going on. I'm glad they didn't get that into play. Now this was by design here, so double blocking the Psychic Frog, hoping they pitch stuff into it, and then just Solitude it once they've emptied their hand. So they do have the Flare of Denial, and we are going to lose both our creatures, but we are extremely happy with that because we can just endlessly supply chump blockers, and now that they're empty-handed, we could set up the hard lock against them. And once again, like it's not, if they run like Field of Ruin or something like that, then it's obviously not a hard lock. But it's just not a commonly, it's not common for decks to run like that kind of land destruction. So just putting up the the angel counter on the Mutavault, and we're feeling pretty unstoppable at the moment. And it doesn't even seem necessary to, like, we could have like chaliced for 2 on this turn instead, but it just doesn't feel necessary at all. And yeah, that's we won't need that at this point. And so one thing to remember with all these Griffin Aeries and Book of Exalted Deeds is you want to gain the life on your turn. That way you make the tokens. And yeah, the opponent had been thoroughly locked up right there. So we move on to the next game. All right, Forest from the opponent. And basic plains. I actually gave that some decent amount of thought in case the opponent is a Blood Moon deck. Anytime you see basic forest, you have to have that in your mind. Alright, so the opponent plays a Propagator Drone, and I'm reading it just so it basically gives all their tokens evolve. And once again, going to hold back Fury until we can hopefully snipe 2 creatures down. Alright, so it becomes very clear the opponent's on an Eldrazi deck with their creature land that they have there. So they're going to attack in. Like, we do have Lightning Helix up in case something really nasty happens, and there's a glaring Flesh Raker. So going to just be patient here and grab a Surveil land, because we have like just like the juiciest Fury setup ever. Now I'm actually going to bin Chalice here because it's only going to be effective for chalicing for 2 against them, which we're a little ways away from. Like, there's just no like good Eldrazi that are like 1 mana, at least currently. So going to Phlage down both, sorry, Fury down both their creatures, and just probably, yeah, I'm actually, so seeing how many creatures they've been playing, I'm going to hold back Phlage and hold up Lightning Helix right here, hoping to slam 1 ring next turn. Alright, so Propagator Drone. Okay, another Propagator Drone. So the opponent is on some sort of tokeny Eldrazi deck, and I've actually played something similar. It was like a Jund Eldrazi tokens deck. I'll go ahead and link it right here, hoping to go off with like glaring Flesh Rakers and stuff like that. So, however, we're gonna slam the 1 ring, and these are the kind of decks that our deck can prey upon. Like, we have Lightning Helixes, we have Phlages, we have Furies. The opponent is going to whammy our 1 ring with Wastegate Battle Mage though, so that's like a pretty sick tech right there. Honestly pretty good. I mean, 3 mana nuke a 1 ring is like, and play a creature into play is pretty strong. However, Phlage is going, so we're going to kill the Propagator Drone because that one can make tokens and has like a relevant effect while it's on the battlefield. Gonna hold back the Witch Enchanters in case we need to cast them. Checking the graveyard for Phlage Escape right here. So Propagator Drone. Let's see if they have another. Alright, so they just have another land. They're gonna have the activation up for Propagator Drone, but it's looking pretty grim for them. I'm not sure. Maybe they're running a Collected Company since they're like focused on green. But yeah, we're just going to Phlage right here, and yeah, that takes care of it. Well, I'm really glad that worked. That was fun, like grinding people out with tokens from Book and Griffin Aerie, and I think there's like interesting potential for this strategy. And I liked just the amount of life gain that like makes you really safe from your own 1 ring, and like just, you know, has some fun gameplay to it. I do think it is a little weak against the combo decks, but that's, you have to sort of pick and choose your matchups. There are a lot of directions you can take this deck in. So I eventually converged on red-white, though I was Mardu at one point, like with Toxic Deluges and Splashing Domain for Leyline Bindings. I don't think you necessarily need to do that. This may be like the best version of the deck just because of the strength of Phlage and Fury. They're just incredible defensive cards and they work really well in this strategy. But I think you could easily make this into like a black-white deck, like possibly using Cling to Dust. There's some other like 3 life gain enablers. Potion of Healing's like another Revitalize, but I think it's like just generally worse. But another payoff you get if you switch into black is Sorn of House Markov as like another way to like grind people out. Have to acknowledge Resplendent Angel has like a similar effect, but it just doesn't match the increments that we're going for, but it is something you could think about. Oath of Kaya is something you can do. It's just sort of like a worse Lightning Helix a lot of the time though if you're not running walkers, so it just depends. But if you are running black, you do get March of Wretched Sorrow, so like there's something there. Another thing I was thinking about, so this video is releasing the day that Chrome Mox releases, and so it was a candidate for me to as my first video post Chrome Mox, but Chrome Mox specifies imprinting a non-artifact card, and Book of Exalted Deeds is a card that we'd often, because it's legendary, we have duplicates of it, it'd be a card you'd want to imprint, but you can't because it's an artifact. So between the chalices, the books, and the One Rings, I figured this deck was maybe a little too artifact dense for Chrome Mox, so that's why I released it now. But you could lean into that fact and run something like Chrome Courier, which when it enters, you look at the top 2 and you could put a card from there into your hand. And if it's an artifact, you gain 3 life. And so you could go into Jeskai or Bant or something and increase your artifact density so that you can pick up your One Rings, your books, and your chalices off Chrome Couriers while maintaining the life gain theme. So I think that's another cool direction you could take it. Possibly you can switch into Bant to run Uro, but I think Phlage is just usually better. Or you could go real wild and Abzan go for some Siege Rhino. So anyway, that's the deck. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see even more nonsense, please consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for your support. Your engagement with the channel helps me know what the people want. Thank you.